Do you ever feel like you're constantly racing against time? Or trying to push a massive boulder up a hill, only to find yourself back where you started over and over again? This struggle, much like the myth of Sisyphus, can feel like an eternal punishment. But why do we feel like we're perpetually behind in life? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Peak Life, where we journey together to design, build, and live our own peak life. In today's video, we're unraveling the reasons why we constantly feel like we're behind in life. And I'm gonna share the strategies that I find work to find happiness on our own path. We're gonna look at a few tricks to actually get ahead in life, and I'm gonna share, or more so confess, a few ways that I have unintentionally held myself back. So let's dive in together and look at why we constantly feel like we're behind in life. I find there's three main reasons why we're always feeling like we're behind. And they are: 1, the comparison trap; 2, hedonic adaptation; and 3, the paradox between effort and stagnation. So first, looking at the comparison trap. It's human nature to compare ourselves to others, to look around and compare our life to that someone else is living. But when we measure, as we typically do, just one aspect of our life with one aspect of someone else's life, we're setting ourselves up for feelings of inadequacy. And this comparison trap is a surefire way to continually feel like we're behind. There's a quote that I really like by Naval Ravikant, and it goes like this: "Envy is an illusion. The part of the person that we envy doesn't exist without the rest of that person. If we aren't willing to trade places with them completely, their life, their body, their thoughts, then there is nothing to be envious about." So what does this all mean? It means that when we compare someone else, we don't know what their goals are. We don't know what part of the race they're at. Instead, all we know is where we're at, and that's what we need to focus on. And I know we've heard this so many times, but really comparison is the thief of all joy. Moving on to number 2, which is hedonic adaptation. As our incomes grow, so does our lifestyle in most cases. And yet, what we really want, our sense of abundance, doesn't grow at the same rate. And this phenomenon is known as hedonic adaptation. And we end up trapped in a cycle of all the things that we buy, everything that we own ends up actually owning us. Our desire for more, it ties us down. We buy the car, so we want more of a car. We buy a boat, but as soon as we have that boat, we want to invite more friends on, and now this boat doesn't feel big enough, so we need a bigger one. We get a few new things for our house, and then we notice that everything else in the house is outdated, so the cycle just continues to repeat and repeat. Our desire for more ties us down, and it ends up preventing us from investing in experiences and items that truly elevate our life. And the third big reason for why we feel behind in life is effort versus stagnation. Often in life, we exert just enough effort to stay afloat, mistaking motion for progress, busyness for advancement. It's like swimming against a current. We're working hard, but we're not going anywhere. For a deeper dive into this and breaking that habit, I recommend reading the book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. This book emphasizes the extraordinary effort, where things often take 10 times more energy, effort, time, resources than you ever expect them to. So moving on to section number 2, which is strategies to become happy on our own path. Do you remember the movie or the book, Alice in Wonderland? Well, there's a part that goes like this that I think we can all relate to. "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" asked Alice. "Well, that depends a great deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," says the cat. So just like Alice, if we don't know which way we're heading, well, then any path will do. And to contrast that, spending time to plan our life and define our greater mission, what we really want out of this life, well, that gives us direction. That gives us a path to follow. And by knowing our destination, we can create a journey that's meaningful. Next, we have the thought of creating feedback loops. By reviewing our daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly progress, we create feedback loops. And this not only helps see our growth, but also our pitfalls, where we didn't get the results that we wanted, where we didn't put in that actual 10x effort that we need to move the needle. I have found that reflection is absolutely crucial for progressing in life because it creates this loop of continuous improvement, which can bring more happiness and fulfillment into our life. I created an entire video, which I'll link up here, and in the description, which goes over the importance of feedback loops, how to create them, and how to use them. And the third strategy to become happy on our own path is the one thing, or the 80-20 principle, where we identify a few actions that produce the biggest results. The 20% of inputs that are responsible for 80% of the results. The book The One Thing by Gary Keller explains that in any moment, any day, there's always one thing that's the most important to be doing. For me right now, it's being right here recording this video for you guys. So what we need to do to improve our lives and be happy with our own path is be aware of this and find out what one thing is most important at this given time. So what we're looking for is the vital few that move the needle, not the trivial many that keep us busy but don't produce results. And moving on to section number 3, which is how to actually get ahead in life. Number 1, you need to surround yourself by the right people. There's a saying that you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself by the most. So the company we keep can either propel our growth, our success, our happiness, or it can hold us back like a boat anchor. Surrounding ourselves by people who already do the activities that we want to become better in, and surrounding ourselves by mentors and peers that already know what has to happen to get the results, well, this can dismantle our limiting beliefs. This can create the feedback that we see how to get from where we're at today to where we want to go tomorrow. It can open our minds to what is actually possible. I find this all the time in running or jiu-jitsu. I think that there's no way I can get faster or better. And then when I'm around people that are already 1 or 2 steps ahead of me, I realize that I have these limiting beliefs. And by being around them, I instantly get better just because I know it's possible. And on to the next one, scheduling and time blocking. Success doesn't happen by accident. Instead, it's a result of intentional planning and execution. To do this, I found it extremely helpful to time block for the critical activities. When I'm going to bed, when I'm waking up, the time that I'm going to the gym, when I'm meal prepping, when I'm seeing family and friends, and at work, I break it up even more. I break it up into the most important project at the beginning of the day. And this is actually something that I struggle with because the days that I feel like I got nothing done and it's just been stressful, well, those are always the days that I didn't properly plan my day. I didn't time block for the most important item. Instead, I let the fires and interruptions derail all my progress. So when we're scheduling and time blocking, we need to identify that one thing that we talked about in the previous section. And we need to invest our energy and our focus into what counts the most. And the final point to actually get ahead in life is to accelerate your improvement and learning. You can increase your rate of improvement by investing in that learning. You can seek guidance through courses or through mentors and coaches, which not only speeds up your progress because you have a laid out plan and someone to keep you accountable, but it also allows you to avoid the common pitfalls. You can learn from someone else's mistakes instead of having to make them yourself. And finally, section number 4, which is a bonus. These are ways that I have accidentally self-sabotaged my own progress. Now, like all of us, I'm not perfect. I am far, far from it, and that's why I'm trying to share my journey. But I've definitely faced my share of hurdles, and I've found in reflection that most of them are my own fault. I've sabotaged my health by cramming way too much into a day and pushing back my bedtime so that I'm burning the candle on both ends and not getting the sleep that I need to recharge. I've sabotaged my happiness. I spend too much time with negative people that drain me and situations that don't add anything to my life. I've sabotaged my wealth. I've spent money on items that bring social status or a little hit of dopamine, like watches, at the expense of buying back my time. When you spend money on these consumer items, you end up having less that you can then invest, or less that you can pay for services so that you don't have to spend the time doing it. For example, this could be hiring a house cleaner, or getting a meal prep service, or something which has completely changed my life lately, is getting a robot vacuum. Yes, it was $300, but it goes off every day and my house is cleaner than it was when I would vacuum once a week, and this saves me at least an hour or 2 a week. Next is imposter syndrome. This is something I definitely still have and struggle with, especially with YouTube. I have let my fear of not being good enough prevent me from sharing my videos. And in other ways, like blogging or advice, lessons hard learned, I feel like I'm not qualified to share that advice with anyone else. So if you're like me and you suffer from this, I highly recommend checking out 2 books. One is The Practice by Seth Godin, and the other is Share Your Work by Austin Kleon. Both of these books help emphasize the importance of sharing your work and sharing your journey. You don't have to be the world's best at something to be able to provide value to someone else. And the final way that I've self-sabotaged is with procrastination and perfectionism. I have often found the fear of not being good enough has caused me to procrastinate from even starting a project. I felt this with trying to run a half marathon, start jiu-jitsu, and more recently, I really find this with YouTube. But something that I'm trying to remind myself is that we only get better by doing the thing. We don't get better by thinking about the thing, researching the thing. We only can improve ourselves when we take that knowledge and apply it. We need to do the thing. So what does this all mean? I think what it means is that feeling behind in life is a common experience, but it's not a sentence. By understanding why we feel this way, embracing our own unique path, and taking intentional steps towards our goal, we can overcome these hurdles and we can feel like we're making progress in life. One might even say we can start living our own peak life. So I think we would all do well to remember that the goal is progress, not perfection. And I would love it if you'd share your journey down in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling in life. Do you feel like you're behind? Do you feel like you're just hitting everything out of the park? Either way, I would love to know. So before you go, check out this book summary that I did on essentialism, which is all about finding what is essential in your life. And if you found this video helpful, it'd mean the world if you'd subscribe to my channel so that I can continue to get better and bring you more value. We'll see you in the next one.